Lesson 2, we're going to work on writing our first draft. We've already walked through an important step of the process of communicating, which is the planning that we need to do to identify our reader, their interests, our purpose for writing, our most important message, and the organization that we'll adopt for our message. Once we've done that planning process, then we're ready to write the first draft. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is think about the way we create an opening. As mentioned earlier, readers are skimming and scanning. Many of us are overwhelmed by different forms of communication. Email, social media, phone messages, in-person meetings. We want to make sure that we've taken full advantage of our opening to get our readers' attention. So what are some criteria for an inviting opening? We want to cover these bases. It does catch the reader's attention. It establishes personal contact with them and sets the right tone. Those are two particularly important tasks when your purpose is to persuade, right? If you're just giving information, you may not need that personal connection. But if you're selling anything, either internally or externally in your organization, you want to make sure that you have personal contact with that person and you've set the right tone. Your opening includes a key sentence that explains what you're writing about, and it presents a quick snapshot of your message in no more than 2 or 3, maybe 4 sentences. Okay? So let's look at a couple examples. In version 1, this is in reference to your recent email, which was passed to this department for review. Unfortunately, the information you requested is not available at this point in time. How about version 2? Thank you for asking about the August 5th class. We don't know the location for the instructor's name, the location or the instructor's name, but we should be able to send you the class information or the details by July 15th. Okay, so what's different about version 1 and version 2? Does it meet our criteria? I thank you is a nice way to set a great engaging tone. It also makes personal contact because it says in version 2, thank you for asking about the August 5th class. All right, so version 1 also says in reference to your recent email, but version 2 is giving a much more personable tone. And then it's saying we don't yet know. So there's a lot here in this second version around language and the way we use language to set tone. But going back to the criteria, we want to make sure that we have always included the main point for writing and, if appropriate, made a connection. So thank you. If you have no better idea, thank you is a great way to start a message. I thank people all the time. I thank them for their time, thank them for their email, thank them for meeting with me last week, thank them for the phone call. So if there's something that you can thank people for, it's always a great way to start your message that way. Okay, so you want to also, when you're writing an inviting opening, avoid some of these overused terms, especially when I'm working with local government, municipalities, different kinds of public agencies. Some of the language here tends to be a little bit of legalese. So we want to avoid overused phrases like per your request, right? So please be advised, enclosed herewith. So instead, use simple and direct language, as you asked. So even unfortunately, or I have enclosed, I am attaching, here are copies. We are going to get into language later in our course, but as a prelude here, I want to tell you that clear, simple, direct language is a great way to start your message. Your reader will hear, wow, this is a person that I want to communicate with. They communicate clearly, openly, directly. All right, so use an inviting opening with simple, clear language and get to the point quickly. Okay, so another way to start your message, but then continue on, is to limit sentence and paragraph length. All right, so how many words in this sentence? 57 words. And how long should a paragraph sentence be? Anyone? A sentence should be about 25 words long. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're standing there counting the words in each of your sentences. It means that if you need to take a breath in between at the end and can't get through the sentence, it's probably too long. We see long, dense sentences all the time. We also see long, dense paragraphs all the time. research shows that long, dense paragraphs are the most difficult way to communicate information to people. So instead, use short sentences and short paragraphs. People always ask, can a paragraph be one sentence long? Yes, it can. A paragraph can be one sentence long. Again, limit your sentence and paragraph length. So make sure you put your key sentence at the beginning, your most important point. We're going to talk about lists, using lists instead of paragraphs. It's a great way to communicate information. Don't worry about all the other issues in this, but what we're highlighting with this example, again, is that the sentence is too long. Instead, write shorter sentences. This is a key fact that's important to consider when you're writing for any kind of social media platform. Obviously, a long sentence is not going to work. You're going to choose shorter sentences. So around 25 words, somewhere between 15 and 25 is the right length for a sentence. Paragraphs should be 2 or 3 sentences long. I have seen, we've worked with senior executives in Fortune 500 companies, and as part of our assessment, we always look at writing to really hone in on the specific challenges a person or an organization is struggling with. I've seen a paragraph that takes up an entire printed 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So no breaks in the spacing, no long sentences. It's difficult, if not impossible, for a reader to get through that. And their incentive is going to be probably very low to do that. So make it easy for them. Remember earlier I was talking about the paradigm shift. So do all the hard work for your reader so that it's easy for your reader to get through your messages. If they have 100 messages to respond to, make yours the one that they gravitate to quickly so that they're responding to your messages. That's how we increase our results. Another way visually to improve the response rate to all of our messages, printed, electronic, and everything else, is to use different kinds of formatting techniques. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about is headings. We oftentimes think of headings as a tool that we use for written documents, reports, proposals. We can also use headings in email. All right, so we need to use whatever strategies we can to break up long, dense texts. So here's one. Even as a reader or somebody who's moving quickly, is this one easy to read? So I think it's a visual snapshot. When we see numbers, we're generally looking for some other kinds of breakdown. Show your analytical skills by breaking down the messages. How many of you think that this is easier to read? Follow this procedure to be reimbursed, right? So we talk a lot about procedures. In fact, we have a whole course focused on reports, proposals, and procedures. And in it, we break down a process for writing procedures. But basically, you want to make sure that all of your procedures are easy to follow. This one is much easier to read than a procedure embedded in narrative form. So choose one that's broken down. Again, long, dense paragraphs are not the right way to communicate a process or procedure. Okay, we started this conversation around openings, and now we're going into closings. Okay, a closing is another opportunity that you want to take advantage of. So when you're writing a closing, make final personal contact with the reader. Again, crucial when you're writing to persuade. Wrap up any loose ends. Tell readers what happens next and use specific language. Oftentimes I see people say, please get back to me in a timely manner, or at your convenience. All right, we're going to talk in a bit about specific language, but timely manner and at your convenience are not examples of specific language. If you need the report back by Tuesday, tell your reader, I'd like the report back on Tuesday because maybe there's a reason, and give them that information. So tell them also what happens next. Once I receive your report, I will do such and such. Restate what you're looking for and make final personal contact, right? So you're saying, again, it was thank you for taking the time to meet with with me. I do need the response or the report completed by Tuesday so that I can submit it to our CFO. I'm at my desk if you have any questions until 5 o'clock, right? So we're really using our closing to make that kind of, to seize the opportunity to restate our most important point and to set our tone that we want to do business and are paying attention.